So welcome everyone to this webinar today with reproducibility for everyone. And I hope you can see the QR code here, which leads to the slides we're going to share. So we just want to quickly introduce ourselves.
Hi, good morning or good afternoon. My name is Nafisa. I'm one of the co-hosts here, and I am an assistant professor in the US at Southern Illinois University. I've been involved with R4E since about 2019, and I'm really excited to be here to share how you could potentially get involved with R4E and to talk a little bit about what we do with Susan.
Hello everyone, and my name is Susanne Auer. I have a PhD in plant biology. I'm a biologist. I work as a lecturer and researcher at TU Dresden in Germany. And I'm also involved, like Nafisa, we are both coming from the same kind of cohort, from being eLife ambassadors at some point, and then jumping into reproducibility for everyone, this initiative. And so we are basically, as a team of 3 people, we also have Nela, we are leading this initiative currently, although we usually say it's a community-led initiative, but we are kind of steering a little bit this initiative. So we are Reproducibility for Everyone is a community of scientists in academia and industry, and we want to improve the reproducibility of science. Our members come from all over the world. And as a community, we have together created a slide deck. We are hosting workshops, specifically in our fields of interest or our fields where we work in. So Nafisa, for example, does workshops in her field. I'm going to my biologist conferences, do workshops there. We get asked to deliver workshops. We are also applying for funding as a group when funding opportunities arise. And we have developed this open access workshop, this Reproducibility for Everyone workshop, which you can use yourself if you want to host a journal club or a seminar at your institute. And so if you want to join us, I put the QR code there also for that link to join us. So that will lead you to a questionnaire to fill out, and we can get in touch with you if you would love to be part of our initiative. So we are organizing usually over Slack. It's not always very busy, but we always get back to you if you join us, and then we were talking to you basically. So what we've done in the past, so our initiative exists since roughly 2018, 2017, 2018. And so far, during all this time until 2025, we have hosted over 70 workshops. We had over 3,500 participants visiting our workshops. And mainly these are people from STEM fields, so it's a bit more leaning towards people from the natural sciences, people from medicine, moreover, biology, physics, this kind of thing. But we did a little bit also dabble into the humanities or the social sciences. So if you want to read more about our initiative, which explains a little bit more of the context, where we come from, what we do, and has some resources, here are some, here's a paper that we co-wrote together as a community, and you can find it as a preprint version on the OSF, or if you go to the paper itself, which was published with eLife. And what we currently do, so what we do right now is usually in the blog. So I put the QR code here also for our blog. So if you visit our website, you can click through that. We have a lot of materials that we are using for our workshops published there as well. And as I said, you can use that. It's an open access license for all of these slides. And as long as you cite who it comes from, you can just use that. So what we did in the past and what we continue to do is we are reaching out to other communities as well. So we've been involved, of course, with AREN, with the African Reproducibility Network, specifically last year. I'm one of the steering group members, one of the leads for the German Reproducibility Network. So I'm there with my German colleagues where we try to institutionalize open science practices. We have ties to the Turing Way, to the Ford initiative, and several others. So we've been involved with the communities from the Stanford Medicine, School of Medicine, with eLife, being eLife ambassadors. We still have good ties with them, or with the NIH, with the NINS Office of Research Quality. So there's a lot of outreach through to our members into all of these different kind of communities. And so our approach to the workshops that we use or we lead is basically the way that we are a train the trainer initiative. So we have our slide deck that has been developed. So there's the training aspect. And when people approach us and say, hey, I would love to give this workshop on reproducible research or reproducibility, these kind of practices on a conference, then we love to have them on board. We do a little bit of train the trainer with them. And then one or two experienced members of Reproducibility for Everyone initiative, and then this new member, basically, we are all together giving this workshop in this conference or whatever setting it is. And so this is how we also get more members and how people approach us. When we give workshops, people come to us and say, hey, how can I be a member of that? And with that, we obviously want, of course, to have progress, to have this multipliers, people sitting in our communities holding the torch basically for reproducibility in the sciences. So Nafisa, I think the stage is yours.
Great. Prior to our workshops, we like to send out workshop surveys, and this is just an example of one of the questions we ask in our pre-workshop survey. Have you had any difficulties reproducing data? And you can see the response. So this is just an example of one of our pre-workshop surveys and questions that we ask, and a question that we've asked. So you can see that we see people often struggle with reproducing data, either their own or someone else's from a manuscript that's been previously published. So our workshop tries to help individuals, scientists, both in academia and in industry, wanting to make their research more reproducible, so implementing tools into their research. So next slide, this is a summary of our content that we cover in our workshop. So like I said, we want to educate people on the importance of reproducibility and increasing your scientific rigor, and then give them tools to do that. So we go over things like data management. We talk about electronic lab notebooks, sharing protocols, using protocols that have been published or shared with others, wet lab reagent sharing. So we talk about sharing, different components of research. So if you do work in Drosophila, so fruit flies, or if you do work in viruses, things like that. We also cover bioinformatics tools, data and code sharing. We've added some new sections to our workshop. So looking at the importance of statistical rigor and data visualization, and then designing figures and images. All of these are, lead to our goals and our objectives. Next slide. Which is, providing tips and tricks, tools to increase your scientific rigor, your reproducibility. And we view our workshop, it can be a little bit overwhelming if you're new to the field, but we view it as, a starting point for your lifelong journey into increasing your reproducibility in your scientific research. So it's just a starting point. And we often encourage our participants to, maybe try and implement one tool in their research to increase their reproducibility, and then, kind of build upon that as they progress in their scientific training and their careers. So having a reproducible research practice, and we emphasize this in our workshop, helps you organize your experiments productively, look at your results accurately, share your research, your protocols, your data, your findings with other researchers, and sharing techniques, reagents, basically all of this to accelerate and move science forward. And so we want to help individuals, save time and resources in the long term. So all of our work is available. Our slide deck is available online. We, have published it under Creative Commons with, just having that ability, to give us credit for the work that we've done putting these workshops together, these slides together. But we have our community of scientists, both in academia and in industry, that have helped develop this slide deck or this workshop. And we've also, next slide, had several funders provide funding, to grow our initiative and to get us where we are. And so we're really thankful to all of them that are listed here. Currently, next slide, we have a new fiscal sponsor, which is Open Collective in Europe. And so we have all of our funding through there, and people can, anyone can become a financial contributor. So next slide, we have a list of ways just to summarize what we've talked about, what Suzanne and I have talked about. You can become a volunteer by going to our website. We also have a newsletter that you can sign up for. We also have a resource for if you want to request a workshop at your institute, or, if you have a journal club, or, you're a graduate student and you want, to have this for other students, or if you're an instructor that, or a professor or whatever, and you want to have this for your lab or students in your institution, please reach out to us. We can post the newsletter link in the chat for sure. Also, you can donate if you want to us, but not necessary. So there's a link for that. The next slide, we'll get that newsletter link posted in the chat. But the next slide, we have an upcoming event. We're hosting these worldwide webinars.
Yeah, sorry, it didn't update, so I need to share again.
Okay. Sorry.
Sorry for that.
That's okay. We have a new initiative that we're starting, where we're having worldwide webinars. We've hosted 2 so far, and we're hosting a 3rd one in June. And this is open to anyone. You just need an internet connection. We're going to have one on data visualization with Alina Jambour, who's going to talk about the essentials for data visualization. So this is open to anyone. We have a QR code to register, and then anyone that registers will get a recording and a copy of the slides for this workshop. So it's not necessary that you have to attend on the specific day, but we really want to, help individuals and educate them in how to increase their scientific rigor. And I think that's it for us now. I don't know, were we going to take questions or?
Oh, hopefully we do. So thanks a lot for having us. I'm going to stop screen sharing now so I can see you and I can see the chat.
Yeah, thank you so much, Suzanne and Nafisa. It is worth noting that R4E is the first partner that Aaron had when it started. Yeah, so they've provided support for us for a long time now. And one thing that we prioritize at Aaron is not to reinvent the wheel, although we do want to provide training. we also believe that there are existing initiatives that are already doing so well within that field. And like Susan and Nafisa shared, you can request for a workshop for your institution, for your research group. You just have to fill in your details in the forms, and this is something they provide for the global community. So it is wonderful to have them here to share how you can get involved. The whole idea is to ensure that everything is done collaboratively, not to kind of create silos. So we are hoping that this will be an opportunity for you to take advantage of what R4E is doing and then get involved. I think I like the part that people can become volunteers and also deliver some of these trainings. So Susan and Nafisa, I have a question for you. For volunteers, do you provide some form of training for volunteers, or anyone can choose to be a volunteer and they can just take their resources and then deliver training for their communities?
So everyone can be a volunteer. I mean, you have to be in some sort of, there should be some sort of background, like I want to reach out to my scientific community, or it has to make a little bit of sense, like who you want to reach. But it can be very local. So if you have a bit of a sciencey background, of course, everyone can be a volunteer. It doesn't really matter which field you're in. What the participants of these workshops need is, of course, some skills, as in like they need to be aware, like they had to have some, it makes most sense to have these workshops for people who've done some scientific projects and they have a lot of data, or they are collecting data. So that's kind of a prerequisite. Otherwise, I think this is not a very useful workshop. But we don't discriminate against any kind of field or anything. So we are a very inclusive community. We have a strong code of conduct, which we always voice at the beginning of all of our workshops, and everyone's really welcome. And we had a lot of we had a huge diversity of people reaching out also already. And sometimes people go a little bit with us and they do like one workshop and that's it. And sometimes people stay in the community. So everyone is welcome to just contact us and join us. And I think probably we are a little, so because of the where we come from, so Nafisa is sitting in the US, I'm in Europe. So there's a bit of a bias there when we reach out to like get participants for the workshops, because we're a little bit in our bubbles, of course, right?
Yeah.
But I think in general, the things that we talk about, we are just basically we're collecting stuff that's out there anyway. We just formalize it into a workshop. And it's also, as you said, we don't invent the wheel anew either, right? So we have some experience with delivering these kind of things. We also talk with participants when they have issues, like, hey, my boss doesn't want me to do this data management. What should I do or so? So it's a very kind of, yeah, it's a very, I don't know, single word.
Yeah, a lot of,
It's not only the teaching or the training.
Yeah. You also provide support for people whenever they need it, like the latter part of what you said. That's great. I think a lot of people are still trying to understand and advocate some of these principles. So it helps to have a community that is always available to provide that kind of support and make it easier for people to adopt some of these principles. So it's wonderful to know, Suzanne. And I do understand that, yeah, you can be biased towards being in Europe and US, but I think one thing you've done so far is being ever ready to support any organization or group that pops up, like Aaron. I think that's something you do quite well, and we are hoping that the community here would kind of get involved as much as we believe that you are doing splendid work and always open for collaboration and supporting others too. If there are any questions, you can put it in the chat, or you can raise your hand and then ask any question you want to ask from Suzanne and Nafisa. This session was planned to be short, I think about 30 minutes, if I got that right. Yeah, because Alan. Yeah, Alan, you can unmute yourself and talk.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, research, for everyone for this insightful session. My question is about the time for the workshop. How many time take that workshop? Yeah, that's my question. If you want to be a volunteer, how many time the workshop will be take?
I think, if you take the workshop once, it's sufficient to help with running the workshop. What we usually do is we'll have organization meetings when we're planning a workshop, and go through any questions a new volunteer may have, and provide any resources that they may need.
So there's a set slide deck, and when you approach us and you say, hey, I'm in physics or whatever, and I want to tell this to my colleagues, I would love to have a workshop there, then we first identify which parts of the workshop make sense for your department or your community. So we are usually reducing the content, and then we have this, as Nafisa said, this organizational meetings with you, where you are basically practicing the part that you are going to deliver yourself, because the volunteers are taking a part of the workshop and are presenting that to the audience. So for this, you have the materials, you read a little bit on that, then we meet with you, we help you finding the right words, basically. But it's a bit, you need to study the materials yourself a little bit. And in our experience, usually people are very enthusiastic and they are really engaged with the people who approach us. And so that's always a blast. It's always so much fun. And then we try to help you along with the first kind of delivery of that workshop. And if you want, you can then use the same materials and deliver this kind of workshop to your community again. Inside the resource, so as we said, we have the CC BY license. So a workshop for the duration also is something like, when we do the full slide deck, it's 90 minutes, which is very long. So we often also do like 60 minutes, and then we have a reduced amount of stuff. So all the topics that Nafisa listed it's like a modular workshop thing. So data management, we always do data management, I think, but then the rest is a little bit like whatever people need. So this is how we roll usually. But if you just reach out to us, Elaine, then we can speak more specifically with you, what needs you have or what you would love to do. I hope that was helpful.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm asking the question because actually I'm a trainer for eLife Ambassador program. Yeah, so research for life, research for everyone is also another training. The better you train them, the most, the better you become. So it's also a good opportunity for me. Yeah, that's why I just asked, because I'm still a PhD student. I just asked about the time in order to see how I can manage my time to better learn and so on. That's what I asked my question. Yeah. Okay,
yeah,
thank
you're
you.
absolutely right. If you do several trainings, you also get a bit more like less anxious, and then you feel better prepared. Definitely, yeah.
Okay, it's okay.
Yeah, thank you so much, Elaine. Are there any other questions from any of our participants here? The goal is to ensure that you participate in what R4E is doing, either become a volunteer trainer or request for training for your community or attend some of their sessions. But to kind of engage with what their community is doing, I think they are doing wonderful work that people need to know about. If you have any question, you can raise up. If you have any question, you can raise up your hand or you can put it in the chat. Let me see if there's anything in the chat. No. Yeah. I think we've exhausted the questions, right? Susan and Nafisa. Yeah, we have. Yeah, so thank you so much for joining us for today. It's been wonderful having you, Nafisa and Susan. As always, you are always people, which is lovely to work with. Yeah, so thank you so much for making time and for sharing insights about R4E. We would share the recording with our community and add the links that you shared in the slides with them, that if they want to engage with your community, these are the things that they can do to help them engage with your community. I don't know if the slides will be shared with us, if they would, or if they are available on your website, we can just add a link with in the email to them, and then they can also have access to the content that were in the slides. Thank you so much, everyone, too, for joining us today despite your busy schedule, and we hope to see you at our next session. We'll communicate the time and the date with you as soon as possible. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a wonderful day. Yeah. Bye-bye. Yeah.
Bye, everyone. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye. Thank
Okay,
you.
bye.